I'd rather have a tractor than a tractor. No. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. The sound's a little too high for me. A little too loud. I do want to hear a little bit, though. Gotta get just the right amount of volume. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Had a little excitement before the stream. We'll explain momentarily. But of course, we're trying to get in Phobies while we can. So let's jump in because there is some stuff to talk about. So we had a little excitement off stream. Because I honestly was having difficulty loading the client. And then all of a sudden it popped up saying that there was 8-hour server maintenance. And I said, I'm sorry, what? So it turns out, no, there's no maintenance. It was just, I was having difficulty logging in. It seemed to be just on my end. Almost had to switch gears on the fly, but we may actually, speaking of gears, play some Gears of War later today because I've been playing it offline because I missed the game and I was sitting there and I said, you know what? I feel like playing a game with chainsaws attached to their guns. So I did. And I had a lot of fun. So we might play some Gears of War for variety later. We'll play it by ear. But between then and now, we of course have a lot of Phobies action. Now, as mentioned, there's a bunch of things to talk about. There's some rumors going on. I didn't do a separate news flash for this yet. There might be stuff in the pipeline. We'll see. I haven't heard anything about it, but we'll talk about the rumors here. First thing up, though, is, as you can see over there, weekly map rotation. There's not one, not two, not three, but four maps, including a brand new one, always watching, as you can see in the corner there, the closest one to me, and the penny dropped. The penny dropped is back, ladies and gentlemen. The penny dropped is in fact back, folks, which is super exciting just because it's been such a meme for so long. Always watching is the droney card text, is it? Yeah, we get some penny dropped action, which is funny because, let's be real, is the penny dropped actually that good of a map? I legitimately don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long. And I talked about this offline a little bit, that I was considering building a repository on my website, which, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit up the links in the description, both for the live stream, the Discord, and going beyond both, the website. So I usually link the YouTube videos there. I do have a preview up at the time of this recording. It just came out today for some friends of mine that are still putting out content for the Transformers TCG. It was officially dropped by Wizards of the Coast, I guess you could say, at the beginning of the pandemic. It was the first summer of the pandemic, and they've been diligently continuing to make cards for that particular game, and they graciously gave me a preview. So that's up there if you want to see where my mind's at for that. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. I was thinking about putting a repository for openers on various maps, because honestly, as we've now hit the threshold where, I'll be honest, I don't remember what I did as an opener on a lot of these maps, and I'll default to, it's a small map, let's start with Stabby. Well, that's fine. Or I'll start with One Drop Cassowary or something like that. And it seems okay. And for the most part, it is. Realistically, you're not going to be in a really bad position by opening those on a small map. It's fairly standard for a reason. And I'm sure we'll cover that again later tonight, probably soon in another topic. But the reason that this matters is I think it'll be a good resource for newer players. I think it'll be a great resource for existing players to say, hey, well, this is what I did or what people were doing when the map was last in the map pool. Now my collection has changed from point A to point B. What can I modify about those openers? What can I fight on the standard openers? Or how can I impact the different openers that show up? And it gives you that footing so you don't have to learn everything all over again. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is until I play the map a few times again, I tend to forget what was I doing. And that's kind of where it goes. So I think it would be useful, but let me know down in the comments, YouTube or chat. Let me know if you think this would be useful, and, you know, just throw it in the description, or in the comment section, rather, or in chat, like I said. Phobie just made an announcement saying that Phobies is down in Steam for about 1 hour. Let me take a look at Discord. Did they just put that in there? Informed the game was down on Steam for about an hour. Our team has immediately fixed the issue. Therefore, the game should be back up and running on Steam again. We apologize for the inconvenience caused our players playing Steam during that time. Oh, so it's already happened. So they were aware of the problem. That's good. That's good. So they corrected. Thank you, Anda. I see there's other stuff going on. Yeah, Penny Dropped is back. They added has in the Penny Drop name, or the OG name was the Penny Dropped. Yeah, I think you're right, Anda. I think you're right about that. It's going to be real weird playing a map I last played when I had maybe a third of the Phobies I have now. I might have less than a third of the Phobies I have now, in all seriousness, the last time this map was here. No joke. Stumbled upon a local cookie place, and their highest selling item is literally just an Oreo they untwist, put cookie dough in, then reassemble. Food is dead. You know what's funny is that sounds familiar, Atona. Like, that doesn't sound like an original idea. Hey, Gilbo, welcome back. If you seriously want to submit a game, ! Game review, or ! Game reviews, I think I'd put the alias on there. It'll explain how to do it. Or chat can fill you in. If it's full cap, then okay. As far as I can tell, RCO and Biff's Room are the only maps actually available in Arena. Yeah, the algorithm for handing out maps has been weird. I definitely get them in clusters where it's basically the game chooses 2 maps for me on a day that I'm queuing up. So I queue up today, I'm basically going to get 2 maps, and that's it. Now, this is going in async, and I know that's not what actually happens, but, you know. I don't think I've ever seen Always Watching. That's because it's a new map, Scrungle. It is one of the new maps. It actually, honestly, when I first looked at it, the first thing that came to mind is this Always Watching looks like one of the challenge maps, just from the layout. I mean, obviously, the palette and the art assets were used from other stuff, and obviously in the challenges as well, but the layout of the map reminded me of one of the challenges. Last night you saw somebody live stream and play on the Penny Drop. It's a Christmas miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. You don't see it too often. You don't see it too often. So chat, here's the other thing that I didn't pull up that is not actually in the news here because there's no news yet. There's a balance update coming. We don't know when, and we don't know what is contained in it. And like I said earlier, this is what I was alluding to. I don't have any information on that. But as you can see, the client has now reverted. We're no longer in Dia de los Muertos. We're no longer in the Halloween event, which I'm kind of sad to see it go. Kind of sad to see it go. I don't mind the original stuff, but I did like how it looked. But as you can see, offers are gone. I did not buy pretty much any of the other ones. Schmidt said the next update will contain the new balance patch. Yes, but we don't know when that is. So the quote, if I recall correctly, and I meant to pull it up, but because of the issues logging in, I didn't look at it. And forgive me if I'm not recalling the quote exactly, but it sounded like the next client update. Now, I had guessed that it would be when this reverted, which could have been obviously today or something, but that's not obviously the case. But I imagine that it's going to be in the near future. Now, I did pose the question to the team, and again, they haven't answered me, although I doubt if they told me I'd be able to share it yet. But I did, at the time of this recording, ask and have not received an answer as to how often can we anticipate balance updates. Is it to be expected that we're going to get balance updates every new Phobie release, for example, or shortly thereafter? Miss Vendy has many eyes. The Pumpkinhead Vendy only has 2 eyes. True. But it wouldn't be unreasonable to me that if every time that there were new Phobies released, that the team went through and reviewed everything, and obviously if there was something egregious between this cadence, that they would do it as necessary. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, we release new Phobies, we're going to reevaluate what's going on within the game. We're going to decide, hey, we think that these new phobies are going to impact the game in this way, and therefore we want to make these changes. Plus, it's a good time to try and do it. What I would kind of like is and let me know how you feel about this, YouTube, because there's a lot of, and chat also, there's a lot of feelings about this. I come from a card game background, right? I've talked about it on many occasions. Primarily, Magic the Gathering set this as how they decide to handle things. They will, when necessary, and have on many occasions, banned things or taken other action to rebalance formats as necessary, even if it's out of sequence. But typically, they have scheduled points within the year to make these announcements so that people can prepare for it, so that people know that it's coming. They can look forward to, this is when my cards might change or the format might change, and it is unlikely...
More turns to take. Let's make them ache.
Wait for Lippy to shut up. It is unlikely that the first party is going to step in and do anything about it, because it actually reinforces trust in the first party. It reinforces the idea that the first party is not just on a whim making this change or that change or that. And I think that is good and healthy. I absolutely understand why people get frustrated, and we've talked about this a lot, where there are lots of people, I've seen lots and lots of people, and you have to assume that there are lots of other people beyond that are not willing to voice it, either because they're not in Discord, they're not on the social media I'm on, I'm just missing the post, or they just don't want to talk, but they are thinking it and they feel this way, that they want something to be done to change the game, shake it up for the sake of changing the status quo. Outside of introducing new phobies, we're talking just strictly balance changes here. And I don't like that idea because a lot of people don't recognize or don't understand the potential impact for this. The thing is that, to bring it back to the rebalancing, if you make changes, you risk alienating people who just kind of play the game for funsies. You alienate casual players, and as we've talked about before, casual players are the vast majority of every game's player base. The vast majority. It doesn't matter how invested you are. The Vladimirs, the Karths, anyone else who has invested a ton of cash in this game, you are dwarfed quantity-wise by casual players. It's just not even close. And the vast majority of those casual players, yes, it's the whole whale versus, I guess the Walmart approach. It's a singular whale that's sinking in a ton of money versus a bazillion people that put in $1. The only people who have those numbers are the devs. They're the only ones that are going to know, and I guess they're accountants. They know the numbers as to who's putting in money at what rate, how frequently, how much, and what's driving those things. They can run the analytics on it. That's why they will know which end of the customer base they likely need to service in order to try and keep the lights on. It goes for the same thing, whether it's balance, it's sales, it's the entire in-game economy, it's cosmetics, it's this, it's that, pick something. They have way more information than any of us that are speculating on the outside looking in have. Therefore, we have to trust that they are making decisions in what they feel is the best interest. Could they make mistakes? Of course. But in this case, I think they would be correct to not just be flinging changes out there. There's a reason that games typically do not do that. There are very, very few games that will just sling changes for the hell of it, just for the sake of changing things whenever people complain. And there are even fewer games that can say they do that and are still around. That's the thing, because no matter how much people complain, they simultaneously want consistency and variance. They want the consistency of knowing when I log in to play Phobies, I'm playing Phobies with the Phobies that I have and the Phobies that I know, and they work the way I want, and I don't want to be screwing around. But they want variance because they don't want to be playing the identical game, and those two things are often at odds, as you'd imagine. So the challenge here is, how do you satisfy both problems? I know one of those games seem to fling changes based on their Discord server. There's a few that we've been involved in, Doc. I have an idea of which one you're referring to, but I'm not 100% sure. But I've been involved in games that have done that. And I've been involved in games that have taken the super static route. And I'll tell you, in my experience, most of the time, the ones that are static are around. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking, Doc. That's the one I was thinking. But in this case, do I think Phobies should do this? In general, it might be worth it just to appease people. Like, I've talked about it before. I'm fine with the way Phobies is. I like Phobies. I'm perfectly happy to keep playing Phobies in its current state if they never changed another thing forever. Other than, I guess, maybe ensuring that the client is stable and stuff like that, or release cosmetics, whatever. And I don't even care about that stuff. I'm just saying for other people, essentially. But I'm not everybody. And I think a lot of people both want more Phobies. I've talked about it before, way back when people were complaining, well, balance is a bigger problem. Why are you releasing full disclosure? Balance stuff. And it's like, no. New Phobies is way more important. Because people will forget about the balance. Because guess what? They've already had these Phobies. Even if they are new because of changes, that's not as important to people as simply having brand new, never before seen Phobies. It is way more exciting for somebody to open Werewolf than it is for them to open even Stabby if they've been missing Stabby forever. Because I know there are people in chat that have been missing Stabby. Because guess what? They've seen Stabby about 1 billion times, but they have not seen Werewolf a lot. Or if tomorrow they release Christmas-themed Phobies, you know, something like that. And we're still waiting to see if there's going to be an update, because I'm curious if there's going to be a change there, or a regular addition on this cadence there. I honestly never noticed when Phobies makes changes because it's only happened once. If you're talking changes like balance changes, it's literally only happened once. And the changes were relatively minuscule, but notably, for example, Beauty, which people are still claiming needs to be nerfed, I almost never see Beauty. I saw it twice in recent async games, like literally this week. One they lost, and one is still ongoing. You got a blue speed Ola? Nice, Scrungle. Let us know how it does, because that's the one I was excited for. You haven't seen a Beauty in a while. Now, it could be because we have had some player turnover. Going back to the point about do things need to change? Well, if it turns out that Phobies is hemorrhaging players, and the team feels either they've been able to determine this, or they just feel that it's a gut feeling that the biggest thing is that people are sick of the staleness, which we've now, like, this is the 4th day in a row, I think we're talking about it, 4th stream in a row. If that is the case, then sure, change it. But I don't think changing things every month, for example, is worth it. If you change things more than quarterly, again, put aside the scenario where they released, you know, I mean, the good example would have been Attractor. But let's say they released an Attractor level Phobie. Attractor times 2. Like an Attractor that's twice as worse as Attractor is. It doesn't have to literally be this effect, but let's say there was a Phobie that was that good, and it was just crapping on everything. Yes, deal with it. That's fine. We made a mistake. Oops. We'll fix it. The challenge here is, when you change things too quickly, people don't want to stick around because they don't know what to expect when they load into the game. If every time they log in, they have to go combing through patch notes, do my Phobies work how I expect them to, yes or no? That's going to annoy the shit out of people. And it bothers way more people, way more than you think it will, including possibly you, hypothetical person watching this, listening to this. I'd rather have a Tractor than a Tractor. No. No. Why would you want a Tractor anyway? I mean, you've mentioned where you geographically live, Tona, so I imagine there might be use for it. But to tract. Obviously. Obviously to tract. Bottom line is, and we'll probably come back to this, is that change is fine. You just have to be careful with it. It's like anything else. It could very much be a double-edged sword. It could be very, very dangerous. There are ways that it could go south very, very quickly, and you just have to be careful about what you're doing or how you're doing it. So chat and YouTube, what do you want to see in the balance change? Because we know it's coming, we just don't know what it is. And honestly, the last time all of these updates, every time the Phobies team has said this sort of stuff, we've typically gotten news about these sort of things shortly before they, like, it's not going to be too long, I don't think. Everybody's saying Charon buff. I don't think Charon needs to be buffed. I don't think Charon needs to be buffed. I think the maps need to be changed. I'd like to see the balance change bring a good game. That implies that it's not currently, unless you are just saying you're you're hedging your bets of like, well, I just want everyone to be happy. Which is, I guess, a take. Says the person who's not even playing Phobies. Which makes it even funnier. It makes it even funnier. But chat, I legitimately don't think Charon needs to be buffed. I legitimately don't, and I will go on record as that. Will they buff it? Honestly, I could see them doing it. I could seriously see them doing it. The thing is I keep talking about this, and I just haven't, because there's so many projects that I have going on, Phobies included. I had to do some recordings, well, a recording so far, but I'm going to have to do more offline for YouTube. So I have some stuff coming up on YouTube that you haven't seen on stream yet. It's a game breakdown, spoiler alert. And there'll probably be more of them. But I think that Charon does not need a buff for this reason. I think the Phobies team needs to exhaust all options for the map pool for Charon to be playable and reasonable in its current form before they buff the actual card. Many people are giving suggestions for Charon in the balance form. There's a lot of people suggesting a lot of things. Not all of them are good. Not all of them are good options. For a variety of reasons. It's not even necessarily that this is a bad balance suggestion. It may just, like, okay, is there no other way to do this sort of thing? I think Charon is just a weird card with a weird use. Exactly, Gilbo. I think at the end of the day, a lot of Phobies ultimately, and this is another topic I want to talk about, so we'll sneak into that. Let me just make a note real quick. When am I going to upgrade my low-level stuff? Depends on what it is. I can give you a different answer depending on what it is. Charon's cool as attack animation-wise to do a sneeze worth of damage. No, we're not talking about Maggie. Because I think that's actually reasonable for it. Best way to buff Charon, remove it next year. I'll make that joke when we get farther into December, Anda. I'm sure everybody's dad made that joke. You don't have to take out the garbage till next year. Yeah, Dad, New Year's is in like 2 days. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I don't have XP. I have some XP, but not as much. It's not as impressive a pile as we had like a week ago. But the thing with Charon, and this bleeds into the other discussion. The thing with Charon is that, and shout out to DT, who I see in Discord, but also here. DT was talking about this in the official Phobies Discord. That, and we've had this discussion on stream, I will frequently say a Phobie is bad, or good, or awesome, or awful, or whatever, and kind of talk about it in this black and white fashion of it's binary. And that is, while accurate in my definition of good and bad, not necessarily useful to facilitate discussions about Phobies, let alone Phobies that need to be buffed or nerfed. Coming back to that, as opposed to this binary fashion of it's good or it's bad, it's positive or it's negative, you could look at Phobies more as a spectrum, and I might do a separate video on this, but think of Phobies on a spectrum, where one end it's general purpose, on the other end it's niche. But it's more of a quadrant thing. So you have this spectrum horizontally, this axis, where it's, on one end you say that something's general purpose, say Stabby. Then on the other end you have something that's very niche, say Charon. Then you have the vertical axis. So that's horizontal, remember. On the vertical axis, it's going to be, how powerful is this in a niche situation? And then on the other end, how weak is this in a niche situation or in a general situation, whatever. And then you can plot each of the phobies and say, yes, this is, for example, a stabby. In most situations where you play a stabby, you are very happy with a stabby. It is rarely going to be a niche pick. You're just going to dump it on the board, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it. The same for like a jar or a murder wing. They are generally useful in virtually every situation. However, then you come to more specific things, and these are going to become higher key costs most of the time. Say a honey bear. A honey bear is not general purpose wise very valuable. It's not going to show up. Well, this one's probably more towards the middle, but it's closer to the end of niche than it is general purpose, because there are a lot of maps where you can get honey bear use out of it, whether it's lava, it's panic points, it's both, it's whatever. But there are tons of phobies where, say, we can look at Morty, which I actually used offline to good extent. Morty is not something you're just going to pop out every time you have 5 keys to spare. At least it doesn't appear that way. Morty is something that's going to come in a specific scenario, it's going to shine, and it's probably going to win you that game. Assuming you're not just running it out there because it's like, well, I'm going to lose anyway, I might as well send out Morty because I haven't used it. And I think things such as Charon, some of the healing phobies, and like Brony. In the scenarios when you're able to leverage a Brony, it ends the game on the spot. The game just, it's over. But those are not necessarily common scenarios. So you might be farther on one end as well as in one of the corners with Brony as opposed to towards the middle. Now, the ideal phobies to me are going to, and the ones that people complain about are things like Stabby, where it's, I see this all the time because it's generally useful and it's strong. And it's strong. And the problem is that I think, well, not the problem, but I think that's okay that there are phobies like that. And that the rest of them are these key players that are just going to show up when you need them. They don't have to be there all the time. 1,000 damage, Morty Wen. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's pretty close. Here, we'll level up now. We actually have a little bit to go because I only gained 21 off of this. Only got 21 damage off of that, but now it's over 900. Frenemies battles have a balance setting. You can do that now, Gilbo. You can do that now. So if you challenge somebody, you can do async or arena, and you can do actual levels or level 1s. You forgot, and I don't have it, as in I see Stabby all the time. It's making me lose, and I don't have it. So the last tournament I ran, Gilbo, the last Fright Night, utilized that, and I plan on doing that for every Fright Night ever. I don't ever plan on doing a Fright Night with actual phobia levels. I just see no purpose in doing it. Match is going to be completely fair now? Not quite. So here's the thing about it. You still have collection restraint problems. There's no way other than gentleman's agreement to prevent somebody from using, say, Snowball when you don't have it. So if I have Snowball and you don't, unless I say I'm not going to use Snowball, I can use it. So there are still collection differences, but this does absolutely shrink it. Now, here's the other problem. It is, I guess, I don't know how you would do this, but hypothetically possible that I could have a lower stress level, but somehow have a greater quantity of phobies than you, if by some stroke of pack opening luck, I guess. So then, therefore, if we shrink everything to level 1, I would have that advantage of more phobies, and your advantage of having higher stress levels and levels on the phobies would go away. But I imagine that's both few and far between, and it wouldn't be that big of a level difference, because like somebody else will have to crunch the numbers on that. Penny dropped is still penny dropped in frenemies. It might have been a typo in their announcement. So if you paid attention to Stabby, if you upgrade the right back and you buckaroo damage value can be upgraded in theoretical scenarios since there's a number of their peers next to it. Yes, I'm sure what happens on the back end is when you upgrade a phobie, it's always... Like, I wonder if they had to put in special code to say, no, when this upgrades, it's a number, but don't upgrade the number. Don't improve this number. Because, yeah, pretty much anytime there's a number on a Phobie, that number goes up when they level, with the exception of, like, I guess, the cooldowns. But they aren't... It's tied to the ability, which is on the Phobie, but I hope the distinction makes sense. As long as the levels are the same, I'm happy. Stabby opening will beat everybody. Well, Stabby is kind of... I hope it's on the list of things to get nerfed, Gilbo. I know you're a resident Stabby enjoyer, but Stabby has absolutely been... At this stage, turrets are the openers. Turrets are the openers. Whether it's Stabby, it's Bowmangles, it's Unicorn, some combination of those three are basically the accepted openers for small maps. The meta shifted, hasn't it? Yes and no. I mean, it was... I don't remember the last time you checked in. I know you were pushing the Stabby opener, and we were doubting it initially. But it definitely seemed to have potential. It's definitely borne out, because there aren't really great ways to attack them until Bad Omen came out, and that's just not really readily available. I mean, a lot of people do still do something like that, where it's, for example, Unicorn plus 1 key as the opener. Early gold pack. Yeah, well, I meant on track for my gold this week, but yes. We're staying on target for the gold pack, but obviously not pack itself. I don't want to exist in a world where Stabby can do 500 plus damage, and I can't answer that well enough. I think we need more Bad Omens, but the problem with that is it does open up the challenge of, well, what happens when that's too good? Bad Omen is one of the new Phobies. We can show you after this game. We'll get the meme started early, chat. Let's meme it out. Yeah, basically it's a 2-cost palette swap of Razormouth, obviously a Black Cat, and then it has an AoE debuff. Stabby has the value of a 6 key while costing 3 keys. I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know if I'd go that far. This probably kills it. I mean, they can definitely get it if they want to put in effort. It's probably worth doing this, though. Even though we're going to lose the cat. Normally, on this map, honestly, I open with Sucky Pass, because I want to try and get an Oculus online quickly. Nobody uses Zappy, and I'm not sure why, Scrungle. Like, I agree with DT that Stabby, that Zappy has a lot of value, but I'm not sure why people don't use it. In all seriousness, like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because it does, in any scenario where you've seen Erratic, Zappy could be reasonable. I think Zappy's only rare, though. I don't think it's ultra rare or something. So you'd expect to see more of it, because it's not ridiculous to acquire. Like, yes, it might just be by some weird quirk that people just don't have it. That's not impossible. It just seems weird that that would be the case. Oh, God, I thought this was going to get it. Oh, well. Yeah, I do have a green screen. Got that set up, actually a while back now. Yeah, I gotta play around more with the, with some of the stuff for it, because I haven't put a lot of effort into it once I got it set up, because there's always, as a small streamer, it's always like what do I invest my time into? I need to put in effort into a lot of different things to try and make different stuff, accomplish different things. And right now, the big push is going to be getting more videos up for the rest of the year. There's a few different reasons for that. The chief one is that we're now like out of the backlog that I had. So basically every week in the very near future, as soon as the video, like as soon as the stream is done for that weekend, I need to get it up for the immediately following week. Because if I exclude Variety Night from YouTube, even if I included it, that I stream 4 nights a week, I tend to put up, or I intend to put up 5 days worth of content, whether it's a stream, it's a video, it's whatever. And that means, well, guess what? The math isn't very complicated there. The math is not super complex there. So they're maxed on Phobies. I don't have to put something on the board. I think we're going to put a 1 on the board just so that this way we can replace the cowbell when it inevitably goes in. Because we're probably going to be trading 1 keys. This lets us bank. I don't think that's quite the argument they were making, DT. I get where you're going with it because there is an existing 6 key that is basically stabby. But I think there's more to it as far as like just simply the key cost difference. Because you can look at it from the other direction. Yes, stabby, if you compare level 1 zappy to level 1 stabby, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but if you compare the two, you're getting basically the 6 key for 3 keys less. And it's like, well, why would I pay for that if I instead could do what I need to for way cheaper? And like I said, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or in Scrungle's mouth for, you know, what people are talking about, but I think that does play in. So what are they going to do for 6? Because they intentionally did not put out another 1 key. They didn't want to get into the trading game. That's why I kind of went after this K9 to soften it up. Otherwise, it's going to take 3 hits in order to try and kill it. 2 from anything and then a follow-up. Now it's only going to take 2. Russell! The Russell's not good into this board. There are 3 mechanicals. Although I've gotten a lot of Russell value, and I was thinking about doing... I'm sorry, what? I was thinking about doing an actual Russell video. Oh no, the bad suit. I don't know what this means, chat. Are they memeing me? It's a level 7 bad sushi. Erratic is good here? Into bad sushi? Is it though? I mean, yes, it can walk away better than sheep, but like... You know, it's better here. Evo 3.0. Pack it up, we already lost. I kind of want to brony their team, but... I mean, Innocuous is the correct thing. But, truthfully, Hevo is what we're doing. Like, is there a reason to not go Hevo? I can even get Clinico, because it's like, oh, they finally connect with Bad Sushi. Clinico. Womp womp, it's Hevo time. Yeah, fried sushi. Doesn't really count as sushi, then. Does it? So the puppy's laying on the couch behind me. The good baby. I might create the pet channel in Discord, chat. I might create the pet channel in Discord. Because I took some pictures of her today to send to my wife. Because my wife was out. So I just sent her some pictures of the dog, like, napping on the couch. And she's just like, yeah, I absolutely needed those pictures. She was having a bad day, so. Top 10, I'm about to give this guy PTSD with 3 points. They're just retreating, chat. Like, there's nothing they can do. I'm gonna walk up here and start bombing their team because of the heart. It's like, yes, you can hit me back. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna walk away from the rest of your team. Because they can't even cap a panic point right now. If they walk this back another space, they're in deep doo-doo. Because that means I can pelt it without getting hit twice. Spawn Muffin God. I actually have to go clinical. I only have 3 keys left. That's the problem. It's not necessarily a problem, but you get what I mean.
Damage grows like a blossom.
So, like, yes, they'll get 2 hits here, but only this and this are in range, and I can just walk away? Clinico has more value since it's renewable. Yes and no. The keys are value, too. Just like the stabby to zappy comparison, if you look at it from a key perspective, it's like, okay, well, I have to invest keys in order to make whatever work or not work, or, you know, you get what I'm saying. So they moved this twice, it looked like, which I don't think they needed to do. Where was it? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but... So here's the problem. Like, I'm gonna wipe their board, or clear their board, essentially.
A fine retort.
And, like, what are they coming back with? Because now I'm pelting... Yes, they have 9 keys, but there's nothing they're gonna deploy that's going to threaten this. At least not quickly. And even if they do, I can just back off. We're gonna wait on the Clinico. We're not... There's nothing that's coming out of the vault that's dealing 1,800. And, like, this is gonna be right next to the heart, so I'm gonna get the first hit with Hevo. I might even be able to stay here and kill it. Maybe not with Hevo, I'm gonna back that off, but I can leave these 2 and then just walk up and brutalize this thing. Hey, this is a level 8 erratic, but I have a level 11 Hevo. I feel like I'm just bullying this person on levels. I'm just bullying this person. Yeah, you can't be near your heart because I'm just gonna kill it. What's funny is I might be able to tank all of this. I can't with these in range, but if they just had the erratic and the sushi or something like that, or they were out of position, I could just tank all of it. Erratic is sitting there like, this is fine, exactly. Erratic is now the this is fine dog. So now that they've shown their hand as to what they're going to leave available, if they ever put the erratic into range, we hit it with like 3 different things, 4 different things, and they probably just die? Nah, we're just going to do this. So... the better positioning here would be if I had Hevo where the cassowary is and the cassowary here. But I don't want to undo it this close to the end of the turn. What was the dog doing? I don't know what that comic is from. Like, you see it all over the internet, but I don't know what the origin is. Why isn't 3.0 where Bo Mangles is? Because I just... like, either of these positions would have been better. I just didn't do it. I mean, does it really matter? Probably not. Hevo should be in Bo Mangle's position? Probably. The reason I was thinking down here, and it would have worked here as well, is, it doesn't work how you think it does. That way I could collapse them all onto this erratic, which we're probably still going to do.
Oh dear.
GG. Never mind, we don't have to. There was nothing they could do at that stage, because I easily could have just gone in and pulverized the erratic. And there you go. Upgrade to the gold. Getting a little gold action, chat. Get a little gold going up here. We're getting up there. We're getting up there. I did have some of All Fears 2 briefly with async, but you know my mantra on async. We're just doing things. But yeah, the better positioning would have been to have the Hevo to the north, but realistically, like, we outleveled them by 36 levels, chat. It didn't really matter. It didn't realistically matter. Which is unfortunate. 9 days left. Yep, I'll hit this. I'll hit this. Because I just wait for the weekly rollover before I run through the rest of my async. And then we'll go from there. I should be able to squeeze it out. Yeah, I kind of feel bad. Part of it is I'm not putting as much effort into Arena as I typically do. You know, I play it on stream, but that's about it just because of trying to get all the different content stuff going. Next year, when I start doing content differently, it's going to be a different story, I think. It's still going to be the challenges of real life interfering with me being able to play Arena, but this is the big problem with Arena. Or async for that matter. It's really just a Phobies problem in general. And we've talked about it on, I don't know, a million occasions. Every stream, it feels like now. The big problem at this point is differences in levels. So I actually have been offline, and this is why I did some recordings offline of higher level game breakdowns. So the general idea is that I take somebody who's in the top 10. So we'll take A Trend here. And I find one of their games against somebody. Now, I was looking for new maps, where they're up against somebody else who's in the top 10. And then after a while, I said, you know what, we'll just pick a game. But I wanted it specifically on the new maps. And then I'm going to try and make an effort to showcase Phobies that aren't commonly there. So, for example, this game has a Gargles MVP. Granted, it's on the losing side, but I'm going to try and find stuff like that. Speaking of Stabby, here you go. But try and find Phobies that aren't as common, or games that contain that, and then showcase them as part of it, as long as one of the players is on the higher end of the ladder. The problem is as I'm going through a lot of these games, it's not uncommon to have enormous differences between the players. Now, that's not to say that you can't win those. For example, here we see A-Trend beating Hoploy, and this is a huge difference. Huge difference. But the problem is, what happens when it's the other way around, and all the other criteria are matching? It's like, okay, did A-Trend win because they're that much better than the other person? Yeah, probably. But also, if they are... Hey, Dobie, welcome back. If the other person is down 50 levels and they lose, it's like, is it really worth looking at it? Because even if they made a mistake, are they really making a mistake? Or are they being pushed into a mistake because of the fact that they're down so many levels? You know, they just get bullied out of position because there's nothing they could do, sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. But, like I said, the Phobie levels, and I think that there needs to be more effort, and that's why I pitched the idea for the next Fright Night, where we do shorter events, as in it'll be single elim events, still Swiss, but 8-person queues. Something like that. Or maybe we do Swiss, but still 8, only like a maximum of 8 people, so that it's more rapid fire, get quicker turnover, and then people can play, but it's not going to take up literally the whole day, sort of thing. You know, you play 3 rounds, you're done. You move on, sort of thing. I don't know. We'll have to see how that works out. I pitched the idea to the team. I haven't heard back yet because I want to know what they're willing to do from a prize support perspective before I commit to anything. It might be worth doing that just for funsies. That's what the original Fright Nights were, because they're, you know, the team didn't offer anything. I don't know how else we can do it or what else to entice people with. But let me know, and YouTube, let me know down in the comments, if there were an event, whether it's Fright Night, it's an official, like, first party run one, we just do one for funsies, what would you want from a tournament for prizes, specifically? What is going to entice you? And don't say $1 million, because, like, let's be reasonable. Like, what would you actually want that is within reason to provide that would get you to play in an event? Because coffee is currently the main thing. I did pitch the idea to the devs, what if we ran, and it was a while back before this latest idea, but the idea was, if we ran, say, smaller scale events? What if instead of coffee, we gave out tiers and XP? Or even just XP? Would that be something that's feasible? And obviously we went with coffee, but I put the idea in their heads as a thing. But would you want something else? I mean, clearly, like, would you play, let's say Fright Night had a unique avatar if you won. Would that be sufficient for you? So we're jumping in to a viewer-submitted game review. Wait, really, Onda? Wait, is this map back? This can't be the right game. This map is back? Or was this a Frenemies game? Alright, well, future me, yeah, I guess. Vile Vortex number 11. We got Onda, our hero in the orange trunks, going up against Dragon here on Vile Vortex number 11. So here we go. Honey Bear, just say no to global warming gaming, and who is Smiley? So are we getting another Smiley holding an L? Map appeared for like a few hours before today's weekly. Gotcha. There was a weird map rotation for less than one day, apparently. Gotcha. So that would explain it. So this map was very, very briefly in rotation, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. So people have to bust out their temporary strategies for this map. We're getting what was standard at the time, last time we saw this map, which is namely snowballs everywhere. Shocker, right? Big shock on that front. Excuse me. So, beyond that, Onda does open up with what was my typical response. That is getting the cassowary into position to try and threaten, so that way blue player can't immediately start taking things. You know, you don't want them to just immediately gain control of the whole board. Even though you have your snowball, it isn't enough damage on its own in order to actually do anything. But we're also getting, as the larger big house would imply, a whole lot of lobbers. Whether it's Phobopolis, it's Big House, it's Vile Vortex, it's Opticon. I mean, really every map is a lobber map, but these ones especially, because you can get those extra angles. Hevo comes in, Klepto comes in, start taking over the board. Pretty even so far. We have the first of the neutral panic points, second of the neutral panic points now getting claimed. This one's a little, I guess it's fine. The cat from our blue player is clearly going to replace, but this allows them to both get traded out, so that way you aren't just, you don't have this thing lingering here. We're actually going to get something a little more aggressive, and that's claiming the top point. Keeping this around, this is actually good play by our blue player. Reason being is that this cat is not just going to meet its untimely demise here in the center. It's probably going to rotate down. Unless... Now, Onda's not going to go for it. Onda had the option to go leap and snowball to kill the cat. That results in a dead cassowary between the snowball and the Gin Sting. But instead, leaning on their 3-2 panic point advantage, supplementing their lobbing force. And we'll see where this goes from here. See where this goes from here. So we do see the Smiley that was mentioned in the notes. Smiley is interesting in this map. I think you can set something up because you can just kind of slowly zone your opponent. And because of the many obstacles, they may not get the angles that they'd like in order to try and force you... to try and force a retreat from the Smiley. Not that Onda really has a whole lot here in order to not get disease, but we do suddenly get an Inoculus, which... Similar to Opticon, I like Inoculus on this map. Even though there's a ton of obstacles, you can fairly easily connect with what you want because it will bend. As long as it's not directly in between, you're mostly fine. The Cowbell comes out to try and recap mid, but our blue player's already on top of it. Bad guy is claiming a 4-1 panic point advantage and supplementing with a 1 key. Now, here's the thing. The Smiley now, I mean, it's making its way up there. It's on its second set of moves, but it still has a while to go before it's actually going to be able to connect with anything. And this Inoculus all but invalidated it. So how is Anda going to address this? They're actually going for the 1 key here, which is interesting. I kind of like it, but it does solidify the 4-to-1 panic point advantage for a bit. That being said, you have all these in position, ready to go, and you're body blocking for the Hevo other than the Bees here, to ensure that it's not necessarily just going to hit with direct hits. But the Smiley is now vulnerable for 4 hits. 2100 health, though. Something else is going to have to hit it if they want it to happen. And global warming gaming rears its head in the form of Boss. So notably, and many people in chat have pointed this out before, that Smiley kind of feels like a counterplay to, say, Klepto. That splash damage could be an issue. It's actually a liability now. Oh, this is a good play. Laying into, just absolutely teeing off on the Hevo. But the question is, how are you going to block off this Innoculus? Otherwise, this Innoculus is hypothetically vulnerable. Fireball's not up, but you do have You're Fired as well as Ginsting. The Klepto is way, way out of position. I guess this was just guarding the top to prevent a back cap. But look at this. This is a great disease connection. So yeah, the fire's going to finish off this Innoculus. Still a 4-to-1 panic point advantage. And while this is a large map, 5100 health and change on the heart, it still goes relatively quickly. You let that happen on purpose. Okay. I imagine this is where we see the Honey Bear. Yep. The Honey Bear here makes sense. Turns all this off, although you lose the healing spa. This is cool. It's going to die to lava, so you don't have to worry about that. Get the takedown here on the Ginsting, it looks like. Yep. On the Mother Load. The Mother Load. Ultimately, something else does get diseased. It's the Cassowary. This kind of feels bad, because obviously this is also going to disease the Ginsting. I feel as though... Wait, really? I guess, because now you have a 5-to-0 panic point advantage. We'll have to see if this is what comes back to bite our blue player or not. I mean, getting the disease here isn't that crucial. This was a great challenge play. Get the dimensional into the pull. It doesn't quite eliminate the Smiley, which is unfortunate. But you do get some strong positioning here. Body blocking for the jar. 0 keys to 0 keys. Muffin is the last Phobie that's going to hit the board. And a Muffin that is very much safe. Looks like that Ginsting is not so safe, though. Crushmore does ultimately take it down. 3-to-2 panic point advantage. At this point, bad guy has to go face, and they only have 2 damaging Phobies. This was a very, very patient game from Anda. So we have the heal on the Klepto that's obviously just stalling for time. Wow, another diseased Phobie. That Smiley is diseased like 5 Phobies this game. Do, of course, get the hits going down on Klepto up here, get a panic point reclaim, enough to actually kill this with the assistance of the Hevo. So panic points finally flip into our hero's favor with just under 1600 health remaining on this heart. And all of a sudden, it was only Crushmore. And there's not much that Crushmore can do. There's just not enough time to actually try and kill all this stuff, or the heart for that matter. And I imagine, yep, last turn, we're going to see this Crushmore go down and or a concession. Well played, Anda. This was super duper patient. Like, incredibly patient. Allowing so many things to get diseased from that Smiley. So many things to happen. And yet still taking the W. GG. Well played. Very well done. And it does go to show, as Anda's pointing out in chat, that you can allow Smiley to connect. It's similar to Poison, although obviously Poison tends to be weaker. Since you can heal it off, namely. You just have more options to deal with it. Although Poison numbers might be higher generally. I don't know, Smiley... We've seen a lot of failed Smileys. Smiley is kind of scary. But... it can be tough to make it actually do what you need it to do, ultimately. As we saw there, Anda just allowed so many things to get diseased that it didn't really matter. It ultimately didn't matter. Just making a note here real quick. But yeah, this, I don't know. I've not been impressed with Smiley as of late. I've not been impressed with Smiley as of late. So yeah, like I said, I do have to do a bunch of more videos offline. There's a bunch of things that I have in mind, so if anybody wants to see specific things, I'm open to ideas as well. That goes for you out there watching this on YouTube also. Not just chat. But hit up the Discord and let me know there too. Link in the description. But we are at the point where for the rest of the year I'm going to have to do supplemental videos just to keep at my own personal goal for what I want to do for this year. And then we'll play it by ear from there. Play it by ear from there. Next year, I do have a new game plan for what I want to do content-wise, like the cadence for it and what kind of content we're going to do. But I'm open to other ideas. I'm open to other ideas. I do want to grow the YouTube channel. That's why I always say the likes and subscribes help. They seriously do. And I am considering moving there for streaming as well. Like, that is on the table. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't know if I really want to do that yet. To my knowledge, Twitch is a better viewer platform than YouTube right now. But I'm considering some ideas if I were to do, say, supplemental streams or something like that. Because you're allowed to, as long as I'm not simultaneously streaming, I'm allowed to stream to other places. Excuse me. Smiley feels strong, you can't hit me and I'll come too. Smiley, ooh, chat, it's happening! Chat, it's happening! It's happening! Or maybe not. So I don't know if this is a good turret map or not, truthfully, chat, because you need to be like here or here to cover multiple panic points. It's probably still fine, but it's going to be more awkward. But yeah, as far as Smiley goes, I don't know. You need to have the board position, or you need your opponent to be afraid. Those are the options, basically. The old chomp action for the penny drop. The old chompage going on. So opponent banked to 4. Is that true, Taco? I've only watched a few streams. It comes and goes in waves. I've only watched a few YouTube streams, like some for research, like I just picked random people kind of thing, which is a pain in the neck to even find the streams on there, which is part of the problem is that if you're not in the Random Thoughts Discord, gotta get that in. I don't know how I'm going to tell people, you know what I mean? If you search Phobies on Twitch, you could find it. You can just show up and say, hey, Chomp is streaming Phobies. But if you're not there, there's no real way to know. You know what I mean? You picking up what I'm putting down, chat? Hey, Elkin, welcome back. Welcome back. But yeah, it's tough on YouTube where I had a hard time even finding where to look for streams. But I went and looked. I've watched some other YouTube streams in the past. Like, I had a reason to go watch it because somebody I knew was streaming or something like that. Where somebody was doing just a live event. And it's fine. I don't know. I lurk in streams when I'm streaming. So it's not like I have a whole lot to base stuff off of. You know what I mean? This is weird. Why did you go primate? I mean, I kind of get it, but... Game? They can leap on it. Like, do they have enough damage to leap and then jar or something? They can't reach with jar. Like, I don't know why they did this. Even if it was just these two, I could hit this twice, and then jar and kill this thing. Penny dropped, yep. I love Primate, it's so good. I like Primate. I actually think Primate's kind of underrated, but I don't understand why it showed up here, truthfully. Does not make a whole lot of sense to me. Actually, wait. We need this here. I don't think there's any way that they could realistically threaten this. Like, they can kill the Cassowary now with this, but I've now traded, what, like Cassowary and Contortio for all of this. I'm okay with that for the most part. Now, the sheep can be a bully at this stage because we don't have the ability to really tank stuff. I can't just tank the hit and then go, oh, I'll muffin it off because the Jin Sting will just die. But we're going to send it up here to heal. Low-level Phobies, they didn't seem that low level. Like, that Primate was a level 11. The other stuff was kind of, like, if your 1 keys are under-leveled, yes, it's bad. But most of the time, I'm assuming you're just sending them in to cap points, you know what I mean? They're not doing something because you had to have them do it. Sorry, checking more stuff in Discord chat. Our opponent is being supremely aggressive. So we're doing this to body block, and then that way the jar can also tag up here if we have to. They could come down here and fight this, then the canine and the jar can still hit this, plus it's not going to kill it. Snowball could have killed the sheep. Maybe. Whatever. We're not... Why not kill the sheep with the help of Snowball? Exactly what I was just saying. Like, we're just doing things. Yes, there are better plays. Come on, chat. You know how it works around here. If I'm offline, I'm looking for the Snowball plays. Because on this map, it actually, yeah. I mean, they just snowballed us. I just don't care. Does it matter? Yes, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. It was a bad play to not do it. But I don't care that much. So we can't move the jar up, because if it moves up at all, it's vulnerable to the snowball. But we can set up an Inoculus. I mean, not killing the sheep could come back to haunt me, truthfully. We had to sink a bunch of resources into it, and it could have just died instead, but whatever. Sound's cutting out because I'm checking stuff in Discord chat. So the combination of these two... Oh no, they've shish kebabbed this. Why? Seems like an error. I was going to say the combination of this and this could threaten the Innocuous, but not anymore. Did they jar? No. This probably does not die to a jar. It'll die to this and a... Like, this, and jar. But I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. I was thinking about moving the Jin Sting up, but I guess I'm okay with healing another turn. Because, like, they move that there, they move this here. The problem is, without the Jin Sting farther up... Oh, they could have done that, too, yeah. I guess that's fine, too. I mean, it did what we needed it to. It body blocked, and then we got the panic points. 3,200 to 56. I mean, we have a 3-0 panic point advantage, but it's not going to last significantly longer. Sheep is basically back to full health. Jin Sting still got a little bit longer to go. But we'll kill this. This is back online next turn. Really? Gesundheit, huh? So this covers all the panic points. We could probably just go Pterodactyl and call it a day. There's really not much they can do to interfere at this stage. Like, they're not going to kill the Pterodactyl this turn. If they come in with anything, we kill whatever it is. 7 keys for... I like... yes, those would probably be better for memeing. Hevo 2.0 or Oopsie Baby. Pterodactyl here, they just don't have the... They don't have the quantity of Phobies to really threaten anything. Is the reason I went for it. Also, shifting these around was not worth it. Keeping the Innocuous where it was would have been better. Like, yes, this gets poisoned, but who cares? We will have to move the jar, but we kill the sheep. I don't know what we reclaim the point with. Can we kill this? Probably not. Because this is, say, 1,105 is 16, 21. We might be close, hypothetically. It's unlikely, but we'll count it up. I was rounding, so maybe.
Oh, that will leave a mark.
Could have just looked. 89 health. Give me a break. Oh, that's brutal. And at this stage, we'll whittle them down. They can kill the pterodactyl because of where I positioned it. They'll lose this. 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, they can back it out. That was a mistake. They just hit this, they walk in, they walk out. That was an error. I also needed this where the unicorn is.
Taught and retaught is sure as torture. Those that fear you make you stronger.
We obviously have to take down the Hevo first. It's the only thing that's threatening the heart. They could kill the Gin Sting here, but they're not getting the Gin Sting and the unicorn. And then in order to kill the Gin Sting, they have to walk the Gesundheit into range. So I'm not too worried about any of that. This was not my cleanest game, truthfully, chat. I mean, we were pointing out multiple things that I should have done differently to begin with. But we should be fine anyway. Little chomp action. Feels hard on getting chomp points lately. What, like, just acquisition thereof? So we take this down. That pulls us into range. Whoop. We want to do this to get this. No matter where they go, that thing is toast. Yeah, absolutely could have played this cleaner, chat. Could have played this way cleaner, but, I mean, it is what it is. GG, bad guy, GG. Kill unicorn takedown. The penny dropped, chat. The penny dropped. It worked. It worked. So yeah, we kind of donated a little bit with that sheep. Definitely could have been cleaner with the sheep, and we would have been okay. It probably ends the game on the spot with that sheep, truthfully. If I kill it, that is, I mean. Obviously, leaving it alive was a mistake, but I mean, whatever. We're just having fun. Just having a little bit of fun here. So our hero is Tacobulldog, zoning into the blue trunks on the carousel. One of the new, I almost said full disclosure, but carnival maps. Notes here, there's a 1v1 I had with somebody on Discord. Also, this wasn't on the official or Random Thoughts Discord. Also insert Random Thoughts Discord promotion here, which, by the way, if you want to join the Random Thoughts Discord, check out the link in the video description or ! Discord here on the live stream. RTChompGG over on Twitch. Of course, the link for that is somewhere near the like and subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. Help me out. Chat's always looking out for me, getting the self-promotion in, the shameless self-promotion. But this is kind of an interesting opener. As we were talking about earlier, turrets have kind of been the play of the day, the play of the forever at this stage on small maps, including this one. I tend to open 1-drop plus unicorn, or even just stabby, number of things like that. A lot of opponents have done similar openers. Here, we saw a bunch of small things hit the board. And then we're seeing, ooh, we get a bunch of small things into a bank for Jeeves. Or Steves, as chat likes to call him. And also, notably, chat, people on YouTube loved the baby walrus picture with the mustache. There were multiple comments about that. It was hilarious to me. Apparently, it was just as hilarious to everyone else. What in God's name is bad guy doing? Bad guy, is this really what you want right now? I mean, this is just a free murder wing. I don't know about this. Was it really necessary to kill this thing? And that just seems completely unnecessary. So this sheep is going to walk up 1. And then the Jeeves has to be where the Bowmangles is. Because otherwise, it's going to get poisoned. It's funny how this cat is just hanging out down here. So the sheep didn't move up, which seems like an error. I don't understand why they didn't move the sheep up. They spawned the Gesundheit and that's it. Because if the sheep was up 1, it could threaten... Now, granted, this Bowmangles would have body blocked anyway, but the only thing that could threaten the sheep would have been a snowball, which could have body blocked, or a jar, which wouldn't have body blocked. But at least it puts the fear of sheep in your opponent's heart there. I don't know. Regardless, sheep doesn't look like it's ever going to connect at this rate. You got the double body block going here with the cat and then the Jin Sting. We get a Temptress, which is... I'll say questionable. We'll call it questionable, chat. I don't know about this one. That seems suspect. So we do actually see a rare Taco trap onto Panic Point play. But here's the thing. What I've noticed on this map is it feels similar to, well, just about every map. You need ranged guys. You need ranged guys so that way you can get multiple hits. There's no way to hit this Jin Sting multiple times in a turn right now. And even several turns, or a couple turns from now, because this erratic is going to take a little while to inch its way up. And even then, I imagine that the traps are going to pose an issue. Now, we do see the sheep going in. This is going to be a dead sheep, I imagine, and then a muffin play. At least I imagine that's what we're looking at. We do see the trap getting eaten by this cowbell. It happens. But this sheep was just hung out to dry here. Like, I don't understand why this sheep went in. This seemed unnecessary. We actually get a Clinico instead of a muffin. This maxes out the Phobies for our hero. Still 3 keys left for both players. 1 slot open, which is now consumed by Bowmangles. No more keys for bad guy. Well, yeah, but that was a while ago, Anda. That's why. Although you guys may have worked that out by now. I'm only seeing that in chat just now. So 3-0 Panic Point advantage. It is a small map, so the damage isn't huge, but 2,800 health. It is a lot of pressure, especially since our hero is going to be forced to do things like this and send in, well, it's a 1,200 health Jin Sting, so it's pretty healthy. And then you get this standing on lava if it were to happen. Instead, they're just going to clear out, let the erratic get in. I'm not real clear on the erratic here. It does somewhat solve the ranged issue, obviously, with the chain. It further punishes your opponent for clustering, but... Gesundheit is going to be the sacrificial Phobie from our hero, which I understand of the options, that's the one that probably would go. I imagine K9's going to come in, but at this point, bad guy can't afford to be losing Phobies. They're on the wrong end of this stick. And even here, it's not necessarily helping them. Wow, I didn't realize it was that low, but like, look at this. And this Jin Sting, if you're going to make this play as bad guy, you need to back it up. This erratic needed to already be in position to guarantee that this Jin Sting dies, not just taking damage. I kind of feel like sending erratic into Jeeves never works out. Have we seen it that many times, DT? I would agree with you, but I don't remember it coming up that often. That being said, I would absolutely agree. You're talking about range Phobies, they're both undead, and Jeeves has the advantage one-on-one because of the traps. It's just the way it works out. Jeeves about to turn bad guys into popsicles, it's true. There's really nothing bad guy can do at this stage. We're just, I mean, there's still, we're on turn 25 now of 32, but we're just watching the slow demise. Eventually, either this entire board gets filled with traps, or bad guy surrenders. Like, what else are they supposed to do? We get the BM bad sushi. This has to be BM. I refuse to believe that it's anything else because there's just no reason. I mean, it's a level 1 bad... It's absolutely a BM. Wait, is this all level 1s? Look at... These are the effects that I love from the art team, by the way. Potential thumbnail, but also, like, notice how the board tilts? Doing it the wrong way? I can't... Whatever. It tilts. The axis is tilted when these big hits come down. It's actually pretty cool. I read the notes. You said it was a game with somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was level 1. You said it was a 1v1, which that's not normally used to indicate level 1. I mean, in retrospect, yes, I understand that the 1v1 is intended to be level 1 versus level 1, but usually, which doesn't really make any sense here, but like, if you say something's 1v1 as opposed to like a 2v2 or 2v1, I thought it was more referring to something that happened. I was expecting we were going to get like Jeeves going toe-to-toe with a singular Phobie, and that was the end of the game, or something like that. But yeah, ultimately, I don't know what bad guy's supposed to do here, other than just surrender. I think the effect for this, you're not going to get to see it because when you rewind it doesn't work, but the effect for this where it has like the ice shooting out the back, I think should stay. I think that should stay on the model. It might be a problem for when you have Phobies behind it, but I think it would be cool. No pun intended. This was very well played, very patient. Very patient. GG. Down goes bad guy. Well played, Taco. Well played. Well done. That was pretty solid. Definitely felt like you were in control. I think bad guy made several positioning errors as well as some Phobie choice errors. For example, as DT pointed out, I don't know how many games we've seen with erratic into Jeeves, but it just does not seem like a good answer. It's not as though Jeeves is intended to be the hard counter. Oh, we got that in the beginning of the game, Taco. But I appreciate that. It's not as though Jeeves is... At least I don't think Jeeves is intended to be like the hard counter to erratic. But it definitely functions as one. Like, what are you supposed to do? You just lose. I don't think there's any reasonable way to deal with it. I feel like if Bad Sushi was really BM, they would have let erratic die to poison while frozen. We don't know technically... Well, I guess we could go back. I don't know if it was actually enough to kill it or the person was just quickly conceding. I wasn't paying that... Oh, you did let it die to poison? I mean, the Bad Sushi at that point, it could have been anything. It could have literally not been a Phobie. The game was over. There was nothing bad guy was doing to salvage that. That's the thing about Jeeves, and to an extent Erratic and some other Phobies, that they absolutely bully you. Once you hit a certain threshold, you can't come back. Now, that's true in any game of Phobies, where, you know, you get past a certain point, and based on the board state, collections, combination, there, whatever, you just can't actually stage a comeback. The thing is that I think those Phobies, namely the Jeeves and the Erratics of the world, and several others, they are the finishers. How much damage does Jeeves have at level 1? 400. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Now, Zappy is 500, but it's one of the higher ones. These are leveled up. I'd have to go back to the spreadsheet to look at the rest. DT usually knows off the top of their head, but 400 is a pretty significant amount. Given that it's a one move, you could argue that it's not as high. Because, of course, things like Gesundheit and Microscopic exist. But clearly you're getting it because traps are on your mind. So what's going on, Chad? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good week. Everybody had a good week. Double stuffed fudge cookies are so good. In case you don't know, they're a cookie that is 2 shortbread cookies with a fudge cream in between them. They're made by Keebler. I've never had them. They sound awful. But that's not my thing. That crab just murdered a zombie monkey. Oh no. You know what's funny, chap? I actually was recommended on YouTube a Walking Dead video. Now, you know by now how much I love the undead. And honestly, I never really got into The Walking Dead, which, as I understand it, it's probably better that I didn't, because everybody complains about that show almost as much as people complained about how Game of Thrones ended, which I also didn't get into. Now, it's not that I wanted to avoid it. I did watch a lot of, I think the entirety of Season 1, when it eventually hit DVD, because at the time I wasn't able to watch it. But then I never watched the follow-up seasons, because my wife can't handle gore. And honestly, it felt as though the gore was unnecessary at times, where it just felt as though, oh, we're doing gore for the sake of just doing gore. It's like, okay, I get it. You're swarmed by zombies. They would literally eat you, which is a horrendous way to die. And yes, that might be quote-unquote realistic for how it would work. But, like, is it really necessary to zoom in on somebody getting their intestines torn out and devoured? Like, I get it. If you just show... Like, you could do it without... It just felt so gratuitous that it felt unnecessary. Like, it didn't... I didn't feel grossed out, or I didn't feel so squeamish that, like, I was gonna vomit or something. It was just like, okay, like, that's all you got? Like, your entire show is wrapped up in, oh, what horrendous way is somebody gonna die this week? Like, whatever. Have I played the Walking Dead game, the one with Lee and Clementine? Yes. Well, I played one of them. I think the definitely the very, very first one, because I think there's been several. And I don't know that I ever finished it. I don't know that I ever actually finished it, Anda. But I thought it was good. I just don't... I think something came up at the time, and then I just, like, never got back to it. Kind of thing. Which, you know, there's a ton of games that... I used to be a person who 100%ed every game I had for a very, very long time. And then I kind of fell off that after a while when I started leaning much more heavily into competitive games, because I just wanted to spend more time playing competitive stuff. And then after a while it was... I still complete basically every game that I pick up, unless I get it for free. You know, if I get a free code for something and I don't like it, I'll drop off. But otherwise, I typically feel as though I have to finish it at the very least to get my money's worth. But I just don't get, quantity-wise, that many games, so... The reason the Game of Thrones ending was disliked was because it went against everything Game of Thrones was. One season, it took an army to march to place many episodes, but in the ending, they just needed a jump cut. It was also poorly and fastly made. It's like when you had a school project and you had a last second to do it. I mean, I never watched Game of Thrones because honestly, and I've talked about this before, it was just boring. It absolutely... All the stuff I was saying about Walking Dead with the gore, it felt as though every step of the way... Because it wasn't just gore, although the gore was there in Game of Thrones. I couldn't make it through Season 1 without getting bored. It's just like, I hate every single character. I hate all of them. I don't want any of you to succeed. Like, at all. So I hated every character. And then on top of hating every character, it felt as though everything was, well, this is just going to be so intensely horrifying that you're going to be repulsed. And I said, but why would I want that? The new Game of Thrones show is very light, though. I've heard very mediocre things about it. Most people that I've seen commenting on it are just debating between Game of Thrones and the Rings of Power, but no actual commentary on, other than occasionally saying that, oh, well, it's fine. No one's singing the praises of the new Game of Thrones that I've seen. Obviously, I'm sure there are people that are, but it's mostly, it's better or worse than Rings of Power, and then that's about it. A few people have said that it's mediocre, and they're not super into it, but they're watching it. I've watched the first episode of Rings of Power, then my wife and I got sick, so we haven't watched it since. But we want to get back to it. She's a big Lord of the Rings person. And I was super into it. Like, I liked the way Rings of Power started, so we'll see if it continues. We'll see if it continues. Chad, I think the biggest fallout from being sick is I'm just super dehydrated still. I feel like I am 7 days behind. You know when you're super tired? It's like, I could sleep for a week. I feel like I could sit and just drink, well, the unsalted ocean. Andor's pretty good, though. So, I've only seen one person complain about it, and the reason they were complaining about Andor was that it was not space opera-y enough. As in, it didn't feel Star Wars, because Star Wars is literally a universe defined and revolving around space wizards. And then you're talking about the inner workings of a bureaucracy, which can make a great show. It's not that that is bad inherently. It's just that within the context of Star Wars, that makes very little sense to give a damn about that, which I get. Whether that's actually true or not, I don't know. I haven't watched the show. I have, Anda. Hey, Akune, what's good? What's the math? You're enjoying House of the Dragon much more than I did Game of Thrones, and that's in part because there's less of the gratuitousness. Well, that might be worth us checking out then, my wife and I, DT. Because like I said, it just... Was it a deal breaker? Probably not. I mean, I could have stomached it. She wouldn't have been able to. But I just... Part of it is, like, we both hated all the characters. It's probably come up before, Anda. It's probably come up before. As you'd imagine, it doesn't always go very well for that sort of thing. This is going to get super awkward to juggle everything. So you come in, you probably go here. No, you go here. No, you can't go there. You have to go here or here. And we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's 1,015. We actually kill this as soon as it comes in. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. Like, there's no way they can connect with this stabby and it doesn't die. That sounds awful, Gilbo. It's a tough subject to broach, Anda. Mom's cooking is a big deal, right? Reminded me with Solo, when Andor met a team of people, it seemed like they wouldn't get killed off till 2 episodes later. Everybody dies on the team except for Andor and the Blonde. I mean, yeah, it's... Sometimes it can be tough to figure out who has plot armor, and sometimes it's super obvious from the word go, right? Wait, hold on. Yeah, we have to do this. So the stabby is likely dead. The stabby is likely dead. Oh, it's dead from the poison. I didn't even look at that. Yeah, then it's dead. Whoops. Yeah, Gilbo's right. You don't really have much of a choice. Wonder what happened to the lieutenant guy? What, in Andor? I can't tell you. I wouldn't be able to spoil it even if I wanted to. I wouldn't have done this if I was expecting the stabby to die, because I would have just capped the point. I mean, it's fine that this happened this way. We'll work around it, but This is like the other games. I wasn't really paying attention. We have a couple more turns of 2-0 without being in an atrocious position. We obviously just don't want to expose things to just getting eliminated, though. That's why we're doing stuff like this. And we need the mobility here. I don't want to send the bow into the center just yet. They banked to 6, which is a little scary. But we do have a board position advantage. I mean, like, I can snipe this with any of these if they leave it in position. An erratic, okay. Alright, they're obviously not leaving it in position. Although this is still vulnerable. I don't think that's where you want to put that cassowary. Yeah, they realize. I'm still going to go for it. Because they can't really threaten this too much. They can hit this once. Actually, no, we don't want to do this, because this means they can hit it with this, and I can't immediately kill the murder wing. But this is okay, I guess. We could creep, but I'm just going to bank for now. We could hypothetically go sheep next turn to connect with their erratic. This is kind of what I expected them to do. Rockswarm was hanging out in Discord today, Anna. I don't know if you saw him. You roughly calculated the average XP for each until level 12 and should be around 10k. Basically, you spend 100k to bring one Phobie to level 12. Now, let's suppose you need 10k for all levels until 30. Say you need 30k XP, so 3 levels every day. Hold on. We don't need that. This is 22, so that's 1,000, 2,000. Like, they can't step this into range. They will just die. We're going a little Zomboni action, chat. Get a little Zomboni going. Who's that witch Phobie? This is Zomboni. It's one of the new Phobies, Gilbo. One of the new Phobies. So this Phobie has an AoE heal that it sacrifices health for that it can do every other turn. Pretty hype, right? Thinking about playing the sheep? It comes up. I mean, sheep into erratic, I typically don't like, but my sheep would just be out leveling this, I think. Level 10 versus, what do we say this was? This is a level 9, so it out-levels it, and my opponent, tempo-wise, sunk a ton of effort into this, so, like, it wouldn't be bad. Only Zomboni I know is from PvZ. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about that because of the comparison. I still see Zomboni as bad. It's not bad. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad. Firkin is an interesting response to this. I don't think I can kill this guy. I don't think we have enough damage. We gotta look at it and try, right? I don't think there's any way. No, we're not even really close. We're not even really close. So the problem is they can commit and kill the cassowary. I needed to move that. I needed to move that. This is the first time I saw Furkin in an actual game. It does come up. Ooh, the Furkin on the Cassowary is a good play. It does come up relatively often for Anda. Anda uses a lot to counter stuff like, this does not seem good into Zomboni. Anda does it to counter a few different things. Wait, did I don't know which one I hit with this. We shouldn't have enough damage.
Glorious is glorious.
No, we don't. That's fine. I don't know that that's what we want. This is also bad, for a few different reasons, especially given the positioning. Daisy is beautiful, it's true. Yeah, the Cassowary should have died, but they're playing it very patiently, so, I mean, that's fine, I guess. They can kill this, right? It's this, this, and this. Daisy looks like skinless Jeeves, I guess. I mean, we should... If this lives, the dragon's dead. But I don't think it's gonna live. What they should have done is, like, this, and this. Like, a meatball and a hit from this is 1,000... Maybe it can't. Maybe they just didn't have enough positioning to do this. Didn't pre-move 20 moves into the future. I mean, the first part of the statement of me sucking at Phobies is true. I'm just, like... Especially on stream, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, Gilbo, but, like, in general... Because I think you missed a lot of those streams. I just don't care. Like, we're just doing things. It doesn't matter. What I should have done here, though, is I should have probably gotten the Crushmore to open up this spot. I think that would have been better. 4, 9, we'll say. 14, 5 is 19. There's no way we kill this. I think we're going to be short. How do you even poison bones? You just have to want it bad enough. The key is you have to want it bad enough. Oh, we do get it. Wow. I don't know that, like, this might just die here. It should. Meatball, this. I don't know that that's worth it, but we're gonna try. Oh, they didn't even need the Firkin, lol. Haha, they got the daisy. Womp wah. Big sad face, chat. I mean, the Noxious is then dead, but... Why not spawn another Phobie? I mean, I will. I just didn't I couldn't decide on what I wanted to do at that point in time. We have a panic point advantage, so I'm not, like, real worried. Actually, you know what? We probably want to do this first. This guy is way more important to heal. We want to make sure max heals go to this guy. What is our last Phobie? K9? We could go 1-1. 1-1's probably better. Or we could just go with a Jackalope. Actually, Creep is probably pretty decent because a poison on this means it's going to die pretty quick. Go 1-1 and try the tanky 1 key. Like 1-1 I think is the correct choice. Birkin about to kick Cassowary. He's hitting a Creep because it's in range. What are my thoughts on Zamboni? This is like my third game with it. First arena game with it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's decent. It actually doesn't have a bad damage output. For 6 key at the health, it's not great. Oh, they're deciding to go here. Interesting. Shorter version, let's suppose you can upgrade 3 levels every day. Yeah, I gotta go back to Akune's comment because I'll read it after the game because I think there's enough to dissect there that it deserves not me only half paying attention. But the shorter version is, let's suppose you can upgrade 3 levels every day. To max 141 Phobies to level 30, you need 1,410 days, which is roughly 4 years. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. We don't quite get it, but it's dead next turn. Zamboni's best friend will literally die for you. It's true. Zamboni puts, I guess, body parts where his mouth is or something. I don't know. Zamboni Yang. What if you paid for the XP? How much money would it be? I don't know if Akune's done that calculation. I keep meaning to do those calculations, but the math is weird, plus the scaling. So I don't know if proportionally, because every so many levels, obviously requires more XP, requires more upgrade cards, etc., which clearly are going to complicate matters. But you do get more XP and more upgrade cards every 10 levels. But I don't know if that causes everything to keep pace or not. So, point is like, if we calculate everything from levels 1 to 30, is that the same as levels 60 to 90? I can hear the dog walking around, just making some weird noises. Because she's scratching the carpet right now upstairs. Did we tilt our opponent? It's not like I played exceptionally well or something, chat. But I do not believe that this was their answer. Harley, what's the matter with you? Come here, go baby. Harley, come. Good girl. Good baby. Come here, go baby. Do you need to go out? You need to go out? I don't know if that's a yes or a no, go girl. I'm going to take a break after this game, chat, and see what the puppy needs. I think our opponent's not even here, so... it's likely going to be a moot point. Get to... imagine Phobie's Prestige, get to 150 and then reset. It would be an interesting mode. It would be an interesting option, but why would you do it? They have to offer something. In other games, it's to unlock the stuff again, but usually you get like a special emblem or something like that on your profile. I imagine they could do that, but given the grind for arbitrary game with prestige mode versus the grind for Phobies, not even close. Not even close. Phobies just requires so much. You know what I just noticed on Creep? His teeth kind of... is this supposed to be a tooth here? Like, or is that supposed to be something hanging off the top of his mouth? Because the way it wiggles does not look like a tooth. I'd like to have titles in Phobies. That would be a cool cosmetic to have. That'd be a cool cosmetic. I could be down for that, Gilbo. I could be down for that. Just imagine they give you 1 billion XP tiers and coffee for the prestige. But if they did that, wouldn't... I mean, 1 billion is... if they gave you the currency to get you back up to the same level, roughly, like, what would be the point? I'm sure 1 billion was an exaggeration, but... enemy surrendered. Shocker. GG. Well played. So far, so good tonight, chat. So far, so good. But I think we're just beating people on levels. So let's talk about what Hakune was posting. So I roughly calculated the average XP needed for each level until 12, and it should be around 10k. Basically, you spend 120k to bring one Phobie to level 12. Now let's suppose you need 10k for all levels until level 30. Let's say that you get 30k XP every day. So you do 3 levels every day. First of all, 30k XP every day seems like an enormous amount, but we'll go with it. To max 141 Phobies to level 30, you need 4,200 or 4,230 levels. Divide it by 3 and you'll need 1,410 days to max everything, which equals 4 years. Keep in mind I was very gentle with XP needed to upgrade. And that's assuming that you are grinding for that level of resources every day. Another way is taking into account your progress. I upgraded around 720 levels in roughly 7 months. Let's suppose I keep my progress rate the same. 141 Phobies times 30 levels is 4,230 levels. I did only 720, which is roughly 1/6. So I multiply 7 months with 6 and get 42. 42 months is 3.5 years. And it's impossible that you get faster with higher levels, you get slower. So yeah, you need years to max everything. Exactly. Now, to that end, I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. This assumes that you can get, I mean, I would guess that in 4 years, if you're getting that much experience, because obviously you'd have to be opening packs and stuff. I mean, maybe you don't have to be opening packs, but it assumes that you get all of the Phobies, too. There is that. There's a chance that you don't have them all, but let's assume that you do. That's an enormous amount of effort. Now, that's if you're 100% free to play. If you were putting in any amount of money, it clearly changes the math. But we've talked about it a lot before. And I do appreciate you breaking that down, Hakune. That's knowledge worth having. And as you mentioned, you were skewing it in favor of the game. That is, making it seem less arduous than it may actually be. But the problem is that that's an enormous amount of effort to collect everything in this game. An enormous amount of effort. Now, I think it's a valuable discussion to have of what is okay. Let's assume you're a free-to-play player, right? How quickly is reasonable for you to collect 100% of everything in this game? All the phobies and all of the stress levels. And maxing them all out. I guess if you consider those three independent things, obviously they interrelate, but let's assume that they are three independent things. For the sake of argument. How long is reasonable? A year? 2 years? Based on Hakune's math, it sounds like the team thinks it's reasonable to say 4 or 5 years, or somewhere between 3 and 5. That may be normal for mobile games. That may be completely reasonable. I think that is absurd. I think you should, at the base level, base phobies, be able to max everything in at most 18 months. Nobody who is not interested in playing, like, you're going to continue to play. Now, the thing is that it screws with the math because you can put in more. Like, 18 months to me would be 100% free to play. Now, then that means clearly if you put in money, it shrinks that amount of time. So if you are operating under the marketing assumption that the collection aspect is one of the core components of the game and that's what's getting people to keep coming back, then that could be problematic because people might not keep playing your game because they sunk in money. And they go, oh, well, I got everything. I am now done. I don't know. The only thing that could quicken it is winning packs, but let's remember Alien Engineer is level 80, won 20k coffee from an event, playing from the beginning. Still at Phobie levels 13, 14, 15 with a 20k coffee boost, which is free to play giant thing. I mean, I've talked about it before. Content affiliate. They give me 8,000 coffee a month. How many months has that been going on? Several. Well, I'm pretty sure I've gotten more than 20,000 coffee. It's been at least 4 months. Because I was part of the content affiliate program before full disclosure, I'm pretty sure. And full disclosure is 4 months ago. You can do the math. You can see what stress level I'm at. Now, I'm not maxing out every day on my resources. Absolutely not. I don't want to burn out. With your coffee boost, you're still at my level on level 67. Yeah, I just don't... I'm not grinding it, and I don't want to. And that's the thing that scares me. Is I think I'm pushing it with how often I play. There are times where I log in to do my async and I'm like, I don't want to play async. And if I didn't have to play async for the resources, I would not play. I would play arena and I'd probably do 1 or 2 games a day. Now, is that reasonable to say, hey, you play 1 or 2 games a day, you should get everything? I mean, eventually I would, but it would take forever. And I don't know that it's worth... or it's acceptable to say, hey, game, you got to give me everything in 6 months if I play 2 games a day. That's not reasonable for anybody, right? However, it still is absurd the amount of effort that you have to put in to try and grind the required resources. I don't think that that's reasonable. And if you're saying that you're at the same level grinding the way you did, Hakune, and I know you played tons and tons of games, I don't know. Oh, boys, before my time has come, before I fly off into the sun, I must share this knowledge with you. All right, Taco, have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. I don't know. Well, I do know. I keep saying I don't know because it's kind of a verbal tick, we'll say. You know, the same way that people say or just to fill silence. I do know. I don't like how obsessive you have to be about phobies in order to continue progressing. I just don't. I think the stress levels require too much. I think the phobie leveling requires too much. And I hope that with this upcoming balance patch, there's something introduced to explain, to highlight that the level 1 option is there and they put more emphasis on it. To me, realistically, I don't think there will be because it makes no sense as a business. It literally makes no sense, and you have to put yourself in their shoes. Let's say the level 1 thing became big, like there was a whole nother ladder, and it was strictly level 1s. It's way easier, most likely, to collect all the phobies. Well, it's obviously way easier to collect all the phobies, barring extreme variants, than to max everything. So it completely, then it just chops off that entire other rail. There's no reason for people to max out Phobies when they could just play that other ladder. Now, maybe that entices people to just play Phobies more, which is fine, but right now, there's not a whole lot to spend money on Phobies, or in Phobies, other than packs and experience. So if you have all of the Phobies and you don't need to level them, why would you get boosts? Why would you buy XP? I went into the wrong area, wherever the XP stuff is. Like, why would you buy boosts? Why would you buy XP? You could buy the avatars, but come on. Even the person who's maxed out on Phobies and it's like, well, I want to spend money on Phobies, but there's nothing for me to buy. Are they really buying this avatar? Obviously, some people have, but the average Joe Phobie, are they buying these? Probably not. Something stuck in my eye. I don't know. I think Phobies needs to offer something else for people to spend real-world cash on, other than what they have, and then ditch the whole Phobie leveling thing. The problem is there's too many successful games. I mean, Clash of Clans does that, right? And it just gates you. I don't even know that they ever had a mode that allowed you to play level 1s against level 1s or something like that, or cap everything at the same level. I don't think that ever existed in that game. Somebody will have to correct me, because I never really got into that game that much. I enjoyed that model, but I never really got into it. So if that's true, why would Phobies go down that route? They've already provided something. They don't have to. But I think that is a limiting factor, and it's difficult to explain to people. Clash of Clans having the Battle Pass thingy was kind of weird to me. From what I've heard, it actually was very successful, and a lot of people preferred that. Point is, everyone who can have an insight of numbers, you end up on 2 decisions: spend or go casual and forget any seriousness about the game. The only winning move should be somehow trying to figure out as much Phobies as possible, and then only play friendly tournaments with settings at level 1, basically deleting the whole upgrading system. Well, that's the problem, is if they introduce that, that's exactly what would happen, Hakune. That's why I don't think the devs can ever actually introduce the idea of a first-party, major emphasized ladder or tournament or whatever, because it bypasses that whole system, and then it destroys one of their revenue streams. It doesn't make sense for the Phobies team to do that, because once you acquire all the Phobies, there's literally nothing else to spend money on. Why would you you'll find your favorite avatar, maybe they introduce a new one, and then obviously there's acquiring new Phobies. But that's it. That's it. This gives them 2 tracks to get somebody in and spending money, as long as they keep this system. In the first months, I was the first guy in Discord proposing a system with identical levels like Clash of Clans, and the devs liked it. I don't doubt, so don't misunderstand anybody out there, and this goes for YouTube as well. When I repeat this stuff, it's not just for chat, because I know chat knows, but I'm confident the devs want that. The people who built Phobies as a game, want that, because they want people to play their game. But in order to continue buying food and keeping the lights on, stuff like that, they need to keep the revenue coming. And that's where the accountants come in and say, well, these are how the numbers work out, and this is how we can make money. Phobies is not a hugely popular mobile game, and it probably never will be, because the reality of the situation is that things like Hearthstone or Clash of Clans or whatever other game, Marvel Snap now, just bully it out of the marketplace. They will always and forever dominate things like Phobies, even if they are inferior products. And this is something that comes up all the time when I talk about card games. It doesn't matter if your product is worse. It matters if more people play it. And people will say they want quality better, but if they wanted quality, they'd be playing Phobies and they would not be playing Marvel Snap. But Marvel Snap has a lot of things going for it, and it's not just the name. It's the way it is. Supercell calculating you need 1.5 years to max everything. Okay. That's why every 1.5 years they added new levels, because they keep track of players' progression. That makes sense. Snap is very genius gameplay. I've talked about it before. I designed basically the same game as Snap. I have the notebook literally sitting on my desk right here, where it's this, and there were 2 or 3 other games that came out recently that were basically the games that I built years ago, and I I need to get up off my ass and actually publish some of these games. I think Marvel Snap is mediocre. I actually find it exceptionally boring, but I think that their card acquisition method and the way they have the game structured causes me to be bored with the gameplay, because it's like I'm playing with starter decks for literally 1,000 games. 1,000 games with starter decks. Imagine if you loaded into Phobies and you were not allowed to acquire new Phobies until you were... So you get your starter Phobies, right? You were literally never allowed to have another Phobie until you hit stress level 90. That's what Marvel Snap feels like. And I'm not exaggerating. Stress level 90. How many games do I have right now? I have, a fair amount of games, right? I have a fair amount of games. Imagine if I only just got the ability to get new Phobies outside of my starter stuff, like last week. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. And I really am trying to like Marvel Snap. But I actually uninstalled it from my phone because I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it like I'm refusing to play it. I just don't want to play it because I'm fucking bored. There's no other way to describe it. And I like the gameplay loop. I think there's a lot of things that are there, but I'm watching people stream and I'm like, oh, that's a cool deck. Let me go. Oh, I can't get that card for like another 6 years. Like, what am I supposed to do? And you basically can't bypass it. I'm willing to put in money. I do that with card games. So that would be the same sort of thing in most card games. If you 100% free to play it on, say, Hearthstone, unless you get lucky, it's entirely possible that you're in that sort of boat where you have to play like 6 months before you actually build a decent collection. I will typically drop like 50 or 60 bucks when I start playing a card game and go, all right, I'll play it for a while and go, I see the potential, or I'm already enjoying the game enough. I'll give you some money, devs. This is what I would spend on an Xbox game tomorrow, or a couple games on Steam. Here you go. It's the same sort of thing that I did with Phobies. I said, I really love Phobies. I'll put in money. And I would do that with Snap, but the only thing I could get is their stupid battle pass, and that'll get me like one card. Okay. Whoop-de-doo. I've yet to build or see a deck that doesn't just bore me when I play. Because right now, all the gameplay loop also, if essentially, and I'm blaming it on the cards, boils down to this. Coin flips. It's 100% a coin flip. Assuming the game doesn't get ruined by one of the asinine locations, because that is something I actually think is problematic. I think a good chunk of the locations are straight up bad design. Like, they never should have made that. Like, you fucked up. There's no other way to put it. Putting those aside, put that aside for a moment. The vast majority of my games devolve into this scenario. I'm winning multiple locations, 2 out of 3. If my opponent plays at location A, I lose. If they play at location B, I win. And for some reason, my opponents never play at location B, so I'm winning like 9 out of 10 games. Now, sometimes it's not necessarily that it's on the board, it's obvious. It could be if I play at A and they play at A, I win. But if I play at A and they play at B, I lose. And you could flip-flop it, where you swap location A or B. It's just basically, I will win 2 out of 3 of the locations if they don't predict the place where I'm going. And my opponent just loses those 50-50, and it could be, I guess I'm guessing correctly. But that is not a... I see the potential in the gameplay loop. Right now, it is absolutely not a engaging or intelligent decision-making process. It's just nonsense 9 times out of 10. And I feel like I'm doing nothing because I hate ladders. It's like, well, what do I win? I get to play more games! Like, okay. If the gameplay itself was... So, in Phobies, it's the same thing. What is there to do, other than Fright Night tournaments? You play the ladder, right? And that's fine. I love playing Phobies. I'm having fun playing Phobies every time, even if every single game started turn 1 Stabby, turn 2 Cassowary Bank, turn 3 Innocuous, and then just go from there. Every single game, I'm still having fun. In Marvel Snap, I'm not getting engaged when I do that. It's just like, well, I didn't get hosed by random location, because that's always the first question. So I guess I play this guy, pass. I guess I play this guy, pass. It just, there's nothing interesting, because the decks that have the potential, like move decks, you can't really do it in Pool 1. They're garbage. The Devil Dinosaur decks, absolutely the coin flip scenario I was talking about. The Zoo decks, they're the most consistent. Of course, they're going to generally be the most blah. The Infinite, which I guess is probably a Pool 2 thing, but I just unlocked it. So, like, all right, that's a weird scenario where I win by not playing the game, because you literally can't play the Infinite if you played something last turn. So you have to skip a turn to play it. It's like, okay, so I don't play. The only way to win the game is to not play. Literally.
More turns, more rewards.
Trying to think, what other archetypes have I seen? There's like 1 or 2 others that I'm forgetting, and it's just like, I get that these could be more interesting later on. Oh, like the Carnage ones, you just can't make that work in Pool 1. Like, yes, you can win with those cards, but it's the identical gameplay loop as playing Zoo, except every once in a while you'll lose because Carnage is worthless, or you'll win because you have like that 1 in 100 chance that Carnage does the thing. And I still think there's 1 or 2 other decks, but there's a number of scenarios like that where I just don't, I don't know, Marvel Snap is, for lack of a better way to put it, it's just boring right now. I don't understand the Pool 1, 2, 3 thingy. How can you tell this card's from Pool 1? Like, there's no icon. The pools are listed outside of game. Like, you can find it somewhere else, Anda, but as far as I know, it's not listed. The UI for Snap is horrendous. It is awful, like embarrassingly bad. I can't, like, it's just, there's so many complaints I have about it. Now, none of them are that big of a deal. So I guess saying it's horrendous is not, it's hyperbolizing to a degree. But it's just like, compared to Phobies, which I also don't think gives you enough information, it is embarrassing. Compared to Phobies, which does not have all of the features that other games that I play right now have, it's embarrassing. The thing is, I don't spend money on such games because they rely on a time factor. Time decreases money value, so I don't spend. On the other side, playing for games like God of War, similar, they keep the value at the time passing because it won't change. That's the product. Nothing will shift to time. Most devs will make some improvements. Yeah, you're going to have to find it. Yeah, if you're talking about the pools, you have to look it up on the internet, basically. I don't know when pool... I was expecting when I graduated, like I mentioned the Infinite card, I expected when I went from Pool 1 to Pool 2 that it would have been like, hey, congratulations, you're now in Pool 2, but nothing happened. I just started seeing other cards, and I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't remember that. Like, after like 4 games, you've seen every card. You've seen, like, every card that you're going to see. So as soon as you see something new, it's like, oh, well, is that the new pool? Maybe. I don't know. Could even be a boat. Who the hell knows? All right, everybody, that's going to do it for the Phobies portion of the stream. Definitely a lot of fun tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with some more Phobies action. Let me know down in the comments for other Phobies content that you want to see, other things you want to hear about, and of course, you can hit up the live stream in the Discord with the links there in the description. Likes and subscribes always help. Definitely trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so I appreciate it, everybody. But like I said, that's going to do it for now. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.